In 1984, I was turning 13. I was just getting into motorcycles. Be another year or two before I got that bike that founded a passion and love for motorcycles that I still have today. The 1980s was a great decade, and in 1984 we were brought Purple Rain by Prince, iconic movies like Footloose and Police Academy, and a presidential election where Ronald Reagan would win 49 of 50 states by popular vote. My dad rode a panhead when I was born, but it was long gone by the time I got old enough to remember it. While he bought me my first motorcycle, he didn't really own any motorcycles when I was growing up. It was not uncommon though for people to bring their motorcycles over for him to help them fix something. So I'd seen and been around motorcycles a lot growing up. Back then we didn't have the internet at our fingertips, and I wouldn't have known that Harley Davidson was releasing the very first Softail unless I'd happened to see it on the cover of a magazine at the grocery store or the local bookstore. Technically the first Softail was released in 1983, but it was a 1984 model, which is why I think on the 40th anniversary of the Softail would be the perfect time for Harley Davidson to release an iconic model based on the 1984 FXST. The FXT is a model number that is still around today, and it is the entry-level Softail for the Harley Davidson Cruiser lineup. There have been many variations of the Softails over the years. Fat Boys, Springers, Lowriders. Shortly after I bought my 1994 Harley Davidson Dyna Lowrider, my dad bought a 1988 Springer Softail. It was the first year of the Springer Softail. It's a limited edition, and we still have it today. And before you ask, no, it is not for sale. I intend for it to stay in our family for many years to come. Maybe I'm being nostalgic, but I can't imagine Harley Davidson missing an opportunity to celebrate 40 years of Softails. I was so excited about this idea that I even photoshopped a Softail standard with the 117 in it. You guys take a look. Tell me, what do you think of this? Would you buy a Softail with the 117 and a fancy, nostalgic Icon paint job that's a limited set? Now, the original 1984 Softail standard did have a passenger seat, so I photoshopped a version with the passenger P-pad and a sissy bar on it as well. Now you guys let me know, what do you think of that? Would you buy that? The first Softail was actually engineered by a guy named Bill Davis, who was from St. Louis. He didn't work for Harley Davidson, he was just modifying his 1972 Super Glide. He patented those designs, and he presented it to Willie G, but he passed on the original design. Bill continued to work on the design. The original shock was hidden underneath the seat. He refined the design and hid the shock underneath the frame. In 1982, Harley Davidson bought his prototype and his patents, and in 1983, they released the Softail standard. In 2018, the Softails went under a dramatic frame redesign, and they're actually a monoshock where the shock is under the seat now. I wonder how much that resembles Bill Davis's original design. You know what else was released in 1984? The Evolution engine. 1984 was really a big year for Harley Davidson, and by the late 80s and early 90s, people were waiting 6 months to a year to purchase a Harley Davidson. I started riding street bikes in the early 1990s. And of course, I couldn't afford a Harley Davidson back then. So, as a young man in my early 20s, I was riding metric cruisers. My first street bike was a Honda Shadow, and it was a great bike to learn on. But the metric cruisers back then were V-twins, the Yamaha Virago, the Shadows. They were all trying to emulate what Harley Davidson was doing because they were so popular. They were trying to fill that affordable entry-level market for those models when people couldn't afford the Harley Davidson or didn't want to wait a year to get one. Now, some people would call those knockoffs, but I am thankful that the metric industry did that because that allowed a young person like me to ride motorcycles, develop bonds and friendships that have lasted a lifetime beyond motorcycles, enjoy the freedom of two wheels. Maybe I wouldn't have the passion I have for motorcycles today and cruisers if I had not started out on an affordable metric V-twin in my 20s. I didn't buy my first brand new Harley Davidson till I was in my 40s, just 8 years ago. It was in my 30s before I could buy my first used Harley Davidson, and my dad bought a 1988 Springer Softail. I mentioned that earlier. We used to ride together. Those are some of my fondest memories. I still love riding Harley Davidson cruisers. I'm not just a Harley Davidson fanboy. I've owned and sold 3 metric bikes in the last 5 years. And since I started this YouTube channel 4 years ago, I've rode over 17 non-Harley Davidson models and over 20 Harley Davidson models. I'm a fan of motorcycles, and I truly think the Softail design with the Evolution engine launched Harley Davidson forward in the 80s. I can't imagine Harley Davidson not celebrating that on its 40th anniversary. Now, I know some of you are going to say, bring back the panhead, and that's not going to happen. It's just not affordable or feasible for Harley Davidson to do something like that. And someone else is going to say, put a Springer front end on one. Well, it's my understanding that Harley Davidson sold all of the tooling for the Springer front ends to Paco. And the fact is, you can put a Springer front end aftermarket on a modern Softail, but I don't see that being affordable and that there's enough demand for it that Harley Davidson would do that. Now, I truly believe in 2024 we will get a Softail model, even if it's not based off the 1984 Softail standard. Why? Well, because in 2021, Harley Davidson released the first Icon model called the Revival that was based on the touring platform, and it was a modern version of the Electra Glide. In 2022, we got the El Diablo, and that was a lowrider ST that was designed to be a modern version of the 1983 FX RT. Then in 2023, we got the Highway King, which is essentially a Road King on the touring platform. So in 2024, I expect we're getting a Softail again. I just hope it's based on the 1984 Softail standard. So you guys tell me in the comments down below, what do you think? Do you think there's any chance I'm right? Or do you think Harley Davidson's going to do something different with the Icon model in 2024? Y'all stay safe, keep on riding, and we'll see you in the next one.